It's phenomenal, man. Listen, someone reached out to me yesterday and was like, "Look, you need to listen to this one Epstein podcast with Rosenberg and Cipher Sounds," and they were talking about magic, and they had less than favorable things to say about it, which is fine. Everybody could have their own critiques, but I was like, I want to check out the show. I sent you the link to the show, and it was a very,
Wish you didn't.
very interesting take on the album because it seemed like, first of all, the criticism was there, and then when they start playing the records, they had to damn near justify their criticisms to their
Cause
live
that ain't
audience because they were playing. I will give Rosenberg this. I don't know if he was just randomly playing stuff, but he was playing some good clips because I didn't know if they were good. You can't really pull bad spots from Magic anyway. But when he start playing the verses, it's like, nigga, he's snapping. What is your problem? And then it became about song structure. So it just started to feel like you guys are grasping at straws to find a way to make these Nas albums not feel like they're as good as they actually are. And
so,
on
Mike.
this show, and people could probably go back to our old episodes, I've picked at you as a Nas fan and other Nas fans to say, look, Nas fans think anything that Nas makes is great. Me as a person that's trying to be as balanced as possible, I'm not saying this stuff is great just to say it. The way he's
Right.
rapping on Magic is special. And
It's
I'm not just saying,
special.
I'm not one of those Nas fans that thinks anything he does is great. I even got, because I was in the comment section from one of our previous episodes, we were talking about all the albums that him and Jay made. And we were talking about Untitled, Hip Hop is Dead, and Street's Disciple kind of being a down period for him.
Yeah.
Some
It's a
people in the
mid.
comments were like, yo, those are my favorite albums. And
Mike, I
that's
saw those
fine.
people. Mike, I saw those people making those comments. I didn't call any of those people crazy, like outright crazy, but I let them know that no, that's a mid.
And I get that. And there is a lot of that out there when it comes to
It's a
Nas.
mid. It's a
But this
mid.
right here is not it. This is
No,
the
this is
real, the
not no. This
real.
Mike, Magic is better than all three of those projects put together, Mike.
No, I've been listening to Magic again, and like I said, it was funny listening to Rosenberg and Cipher Sounds because they were playing the songs on their show, and I'm like, yeah, this shit sounds even better than I thought it
So
did.
Mike,
And
so
Rosenberg was
Mike,
like, well, this sounds better right now than it was when I was playing it in my car or something he
Mike,
said.
it's so problematic. Let me tell you what I heard, and it goes back to the Hip Hop DX article too.
Hmm.
They haven't really even listened to the album like that, Mike. Like I realized when Rosenberg was talking, it's like, man, this is your second time hearing all of this.
Right.
You haven't been doing the work. Once again, Mike, we talking about the work, and it's not like the work is complicated. The work is to listen to the music multiple times and come up with an objective and valid critique about it. The critiques weren't valid because it was just blatantly obvious to anybody who knows hip hop or knows anything about journalism. Oh, he hadn't listened to these records like that to be giving out those critiques. And so he started backpedaling almost as soon as he started pedaling forward because he was realizing on the second listen, like, oh shit, this shit is slapping. And let me tell you what's going on when he's listening to a car. He's probably taking phone calls. He might have somebody with him. He's talking. He ain't heard this project, Mike. And
That
then,
happens
and
to
then,
me, so I
and
know.
then, right,
Yeah.
and then they both pretty much went into get off my lawn mode, talking about, well, if Primo and Nas don't make New York State of Mind or something better, it's like, are you high right now? Like if you are, share it with us, because when you're comparing like wanting Nas in 2021 to do something comparable to New York State of Mind. Mike, lyrically, in terms of Mike performances, Mike, there probably haven't been 10 records like New York State of Mind since New York State of Mind got made.
Well, see,
Like
this
in
is the
hip
thing
hop.
too.
What are you talking
Cool.
about?
On top of that, this is one, and this is my theory when it comes to just growing up and just being impressionable and being a hip hop fan. I heard Cypher Sound say that basically not New York State of Mind, yeah, New York State of Mind, part one, it moved him to damn near tears, and he wants something to hit him like that. Listen, that was 27 years ago. I don't know how old Cipher Sounds is
Mike, he
now,
hit us
but
all like that.
But I'm saying he was at a very impressionable age anyway. So I have this theory that the best hip hop that you ever hear is going to come out, at least to you, is going to come out between your ages of 12 and 20 or 18, 20. Nothing's going to hit me like shadowboxing anymore. It's just not. You know what I'm saying? Even if somebody made something that was comparable to it, I could respect it, but it's not going to hit me like I was 14 anymore. So
No,
quit
Mike.
holding Nas to standards of your own individual impressionableism.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what's so dangerous about what they just did. Mike, I was 13 when Illmatic came out. I know what he's talking about with New York State of
Yeah.
Mind, but Mike, I'm also going to tell you something. As soon as he said that Represent was the second best primo Nas joint, I was like, you're just a New York guy that wants Nas to do his New York shit.
Yeah.
You don't like, because Represent isn't like the second or third best Nas primo pairing. It's probably like fourth or fifth. It's the third best Nas primo pairing on that album.
Well, you could tell that Rosenberg is slightly younger than Cipher Sounds too, because of how high he held New York State of Mind Part 2 and Nas's Life. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I'm with him on the Nas is Like, not with him totally on the New York State of Mind too. The beat is there. Nas
I love New
isn't.
York State of
Now,
Mind
if you
Part
want to
2.
make a critique about Nas not reaching a level, for me, he didn't reach the level lyrically on New York State of Mind Part 2 that he did on Part 1. And Primo came through beat-wise more than Nas came through lyrically. Like Nas is Like though? Oh no. That's a 10 out of 10.
I think it's the second best song they made together.
But what, Nas is Like?
Yeah.
That depends on how you feel. Just me as a Nas
I
fan,
guess
I would
Memory
probably
Lane,
go.
right? Yeah.
I would probably put I Gave You Power right ahead of Nas is Like. So I probably have Nas is Like at fourth. I think Memory Lane is special record though.
The thing about I Gave You Power for me is like the beat's not that special to me.
It's not that it's not special. It's that you don't know that it's preem. No, I said you don't know that it's preem. But like I said, lyrically, Mike, I mean, don't show me a better 3 verses than I Gave You Power.
I Gave You Power, beat-wise, sounds like it could have been on Reasonable Doubt. Is that fair? When you listen to it, that sounds like Friend or Foe-ish. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say it sounds Friend or Foe 98-ish. So if you want to go like 97, like Volume 1, like it sounds more Rhyme No More and Friend or Foe 98, like to me, if we were like picking like some of the J records that he freaked.
And again, man, you know, I know people are probably going to continue to go to this channel and be like, man, y'all just need to get off of Nas's nuts or whatever. I'm not one of those type of Nas fans. And I've got to be honest. No one holds any of these other MCs to that standard that we seem to hold Nas to.
Mike,
we shouldn't even be talking about
going around asking him to make the evils.
No. Listen, Jay-Z literally doesn't even never rap the same as he did on his first album, and no one ever says anything about that.
Mike, do people ask Rakim to remake Eric B as president or Lyrics of Fury or follow the... Like, no, they don't ask this out of any other icon. Is everybody asking Ice Cube to go make Today Was a Good Day?
But see what it's become, though.
Are we asking Scarface to make Hand of the Dead Body and Never Seen a Man Die?
What it's
Am I playing tricks on me? We don't ask Face to do that.
What's dangerous, though, Coop, and what this has become is and we've seen it with Magic, even when Nas comes with a dope album, y'all find a way to criticize it using Illmatic. And that's the part that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I get it. But at the same time, let's not sit here and use Illmatic as a way to dismiss some really good work.
Mike, and so when he was talking about like the level that Illmatic is on, like has a classic, it's like, okay, Mike, let me break it down. There's like there's 7 heavens, Mike, but God's on the 3rd heaven. So like if we're tearing classics off, like Illmatic belongs in the 3rd heaven. So like I get what he's saying. That doesn't mean that there's not other heavens, like where there's other classics lie. So Magic's not in Illmatic level, it's not in that 3rd tier, but Mike, that doesn't mean that it can't be classic. Like I'll tell you something, it's like I don't consider The College Dropout to be like a classic, the likes of Doggy Style or Aquemini or The Purple Tape, but it's still a classic, Mike. It's just a different tier, and it seems like they just hold Nas to this tier where it's like, well, if you don't do that, it's not classic. And it's like, no, like Mike, Scarface made The Diary. That's 94, right? Same year Illmatic came out, right? End of 94, December, November 94 is The Diary, right?
Right.
Scarface ain't made nothing like The Diary since The Diary, but every time Scarface make a classic album, we call it classic and we treat Face like Face. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because we understand that he doesn't have to make The Diary again.
We don't do that to anybody else. We don't do that
we got Master the Dying Breed.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? And every time he drop classic shit, we like, there go Face dropping classic shit.
Yeah.
When Jay drop classic shit, we like, there go Jay dropping classic shit. When Nas drop classic shit, we'd be like, well, it's not Illmatic. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Illmatic shouldn't even...
Shut up.
Illmatic shouldn't even come up in the conversation. And you know what? And the fact that...
I'm a big Nas fan. Let it go. Let it go. Grow up.
And the fact that it continuously comes up, or it even came up in this conversation, I'm talking about Rosenberg and Cipher Sound's conversation, lets you know that A, Magic is a strong effort, and B, you guys probably didn't listen to the album like that.
Listen to the album.
The thing is, too, I don't like the fact that when he was actually playing the records during the podcast, obviously people in the chat were not going along with what they were saying. Then he had to say, well, don't get me wrong, Nas is rhyming on a high level here. Like, he's spitting, but it's the song structure. Now, come on now.
So Mike.
Come on now. We're talking about hip-hop music.
Mike,
we're talking about song structure. And he brought up Kanye's Jail song as the example.
Mike. No, Mike, it's the fact that they brought up the Kanye produced song, Everything, when I was like, okay, y'all are desperate. So let me tell you something about a record like that that's great. Kanye could have laid that and could have had that lace for anybody. We don't know who that was for. Nas was probably at the right place in the right time. The things that are great about that record is the song structure, but that is what's great about that record is the melody and the song structure. Nothing else about that record is really epic or classic Nas. It's not a record people go to like they go to, I don't know, Death Row East, Mike. So when they bring it up, everything.
Well, he brought that up and spoke favorably about that one too, though.
Mike, when they brought up everything and was like, well, Hit Boy's not putting stuff together like this for Nas. I'm like, so you didn't just hear Death Row East or Nobody or Store Run.
But the funny part about that is, though, Coop, they did bring up Death Row East, and Rosenberg pointed that out as a song that was great song structure, but
it's better than Everything, Mike. It blows everything out the water. What is he talking about?
Listen, I like Everything, and I know we did a show months ago talking about the fact that Nasir is quite slept on for whatever reason, but I like Everything on this album more than Everything. If we're going to sit here and say what song you want to listen to, I'm not going to sit here and get all nerdy and say, okay, well, I need choruses here, I need this and this here. Niggas ain't doing that for like when they listen to the Living Proof by Group Home, are they?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mike,
like, so why are we doing this to Nas?
Mike, the only record on here that Everything is better than on Magic is Woo for the Children. That is the weakest record on here. Everything's better than that. Every other record on here is better than Everything. But they don't know that, Mike, because they didn't really listen to the record.
I was waiting on them to talk about the truth. No one talked about the truth.
They didn't even bring up the truth. That's how I know they didn't listen to the record. And also, too, they didn't even make it to the end of the album, Mike. I think they stopped after the Primo cut because they spent so much time criticizing the Primo cut. I'm like, oh, that's when y'all stopped listening.
Oh, the criticism of the Primo cut was crazy. Is the fact that what are all of these different samples come together and make sense? Like, no one in the hook said Wave Gods. I was like, what?
Mike, DJ Premier has been doing that on tracks almost our entire lives. And they've been around longer than we have. What are they talking about once again?
Man, everyone is, everyone has their own opinion. And I love the fact that we do have the internet and people have their own microphones and are able to engage with audiences and express their own opinions. But they sounded crazy. They sounded like they were criticizing it just to criticize. And like you said, sound like they didn't even listen to it. Didn't even give it the time of day.
No, Mike, I'm telling you from his response, like, Mike, if you watch, Mike, what Siegel say on Feeling in the Air? Read their body language. 85% of communication nonverbal. Look at his nonverbal reactions when he's listening to the records again. He's like, you can see him kind of like, oh shit, I really didn't listen to this. No, you didn't.
Well, you know what? Right. It's interesting because I listen to the podcast on my mobile And I
Watch
found the actual
want to see
link
you.
after the fact, so I didn't
Yeah.
see what you saw.
Nah, I want to see you.
Yeah,
Your
I didn't.
nonverbal tell me everything. People sit up there and get on. Want to see your nonverbal. He was like surprised at how great Nas was sounding and how those records were coming together. It's because you didn't listen. Now, you got a big enough following. Go ahead and be honest. Be like, hey, it was the holidays. I was with my family. Had a lot going on. I really haven't given this a clear listen. I'm gonna come back with a clear listen.
Well, I think the criticism started when they start hearing nothing but great things about the album. And then that's when they started kind of going into their. Well, I mean,
Right.
listen, I'll at least give
Hold on, Mike.
Rosenberg this. I'll give Rosenberg this. Rosenberg actually was trying to bring the album in the conversation and speak to the album. You could tell Cipher Sounds was just totally like, I ain't fucking with no Nas shit. That's what I got from him.
Mike, this is what they did. Mike, they started hearing about Magic. You see that album at the top? That's what they did. They just went straight to Illmatic. As soon as they heard people saying great stuff about Magic, like they always do, they went straight up there.
And I get it. There's levels, man. And for me, when you got somebody like, let's just say Redman, to me, that level is Muddy Waters. When you got somebody like Ghostface, his level for me is Supreme Clientele. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and dismiss anything that they make outside of that. And the fact that they were conceding the fact that he was rhyming his ass off on this album and there was nothing else you could go to but song structure, it kind of comes across as hating. And at that point, it makes me wonder, like, okay, who sent you to hate on this Nas album and why?
So now,
or do
Mike,
you just want to hate on the Nas album for no reason?
So, Mike, how they start off this podcast? Sitting up here praising Jay, talking over the intro to Volume 3. They praising Jay, talking over the intro to Volume 3. And then 40 minutes later, they go criticize Magic. I'm just saying.
Well,
like,
before they did that, Rosenberg, he criticized Forever Young and Empire.
Oh, he said it was terrible because it is. No.
It is terrible.
He said it was terrible because it is.
I've always said that song's terrible. I never liked that record. And
no, the song's terrible. But did you hear how he referenced Jay has, like, even when this is what I mean about showing respect. He was being disrespectful, but listen to how he framed it. If you were to tell people this is the greatest MC of all time, when he's talking about Nas, he says he's one of the greats. He's one of the greatest. When
You're right.
Talks about
I caught
Jay,
that too.
Greatest of all time. You see how the conversation is skewed? I told you we ain't handing out no hall passes. I ain't handing out no hall passes. Somebody been in the game for 20 years. Like, I don't. No,
well, this is the thing. This is the thing. And it's funny you mention it like that.
How you doing? What up?
It's funny you mention it like that because Nas isn't one of the greatest. I mean, he just is the greatest of all time.
Right. Why you?
And the other part that was interesting. The other part that was interesting about what Rosenberg said too. He conceded the fact that Jay-Z's hit records and most notable records are his corniest records. So, with that being said, in this whole versus conversation, that's why I want to know if Jay's gonna do a versus, and if he does a versus, what songs are going to be played. Because Money Cash Hoes is not going to play as well as you think it's going to play in 2022 or whatever. And if it does, it'll be because, we no longer have DMX here. Rest in peace to DMX. But honestly, those songs just didn't age that well. And that's just the God honest truth. And that's why he keeps harping on the B-sides, because those are the stronger records.
So it kind of sounds like, Mike, let's just be honest. They were both making statements and sentiment that we've been making in prior shows about some of these matters, but that's neither here nor there.
Of course.
But here's the thing about it. It's like they're framing it as if, like, Jay sits on this pedestal that Nas doesn't sit on. And it's like, well, if anything, at this point on a bad day, even if you're objective, it's equal footing. So just kind of give it some equal footing. And it's like their refusal to is what makes people think that there is some sort of agenda.